vibe coding, AI coding. People mix these terms up all the time. Here's my take on what they actually mean. This is all just my humble opinion as a software engineer who's been deep in the AI space over the past year. I believe that vibe coding and AI coding exist as two extreme sides on a spectrum. Let's call it the AI coding spectrum. Now, before we get into the details like what vibe coding looks like and what AI coding looks like, we still need to give more context for those who are completely new to this space. So for those who don't know, both AI coding and vibe coding consist of a human being like you and me entering prompts into AI tools to build software applications. Most of the world does not know this yet, but you can go into an AI tool for free and write, for example, I want to build a calorie tracking web app. And AI will literally generate the code for you and build a working prototype. Now, this is a big deal because before the AI coding tools, you either needed to know how to code or pay thousands of dollars to hire a software developer to build your application. And now with AI, you can start building your own app for free. So basically, at a very high level, vibe coding and AI coding allow you to use AI tools to build software applications. Now let's get into the details. Let's get back to our AI coding spectrum. So on one end of the spectrum, we have vibe coding. Vibe coding is where AI writes all of the code for you. You do not care about the code and you just want your app to work. This is one extreme end of the spectrum, and on the other end, we have AI coding or AI assisted coding. In AI coding, AI writes some of the code for you. You care a lot about the code and you want your app to work well. Now you may be wondering, what are some of the tools that are used for AI coding and vibe coding? Let's start with some of the tools for vibe coding. Now I'm only going to write down the tools that I've personally used. There are a bunch of vibe coding tools out there, so I apologize if I leave some out. These are just some of the ones that I've used before. All right, so vibe coding tools include Bolt, Lovable, and Replit. These are three of the most common tools where you can write a prompt and it can build the front end and the back end for you, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. You also have V0, which focuses on just front end and UI. I've also used a tool called Vibe Code App, which is a mobile app that lets you vibe code mobile apps. This company is trying to make building mobile apps as easy as possible. I'm going to include more vibe coding tools in just a second. Let's switch over to AI coding tools. So AI coding tools, again, these are tools that I've used. I personally use Cursor IDE as my main AI coding tool. I also use Claude Code, have used Windsurf as well. Now, one other tool that has been getting a lot of popularity over the past few months is Codex by OpenAI. I haven't tried it out yet, but I do want to experiment with it. So if there's one tool for me that I've been wanting to try out next, it is Codex. If you're non-technical and don't know what an IDE is, it's basically a workspace where developers can build, test, and create software applications. I do have a Cursor IDE tutorial for complete beginners. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description below. Now, there can be a lot of nuance with these AI coding tools. For example, people start their applications in Bolt and Lovable just to kind of prototype the UI, and then they move to, say, an IDE like Cursor. So if we bounce back to the vibe coding tools, some people who are more technically inclined do use, say, Cursor or Claude Code or Codex to vibe code apps. So I have a star here because AI coding tools like Cursor, Claude Code, and Codex do come with a technical learning curve, but in theory, you can use these tools to vibe code as well. So again, these are some of the most popular vibe coding tools that I've used before, and these are some of the AI coding tools that I've used before as well, with the exception of Codex, which I'll probably be experimenting with this weekend. All right, so what does vibe coding look like? In vibe coding, you write prompts in AI tools, like we just mentioned, to build apps. You never read the AI generated code, and to fix errors, you just copy and paste the errors back into the AI tools to fix them. So basically, you're using AI tools like Bolt or Lovable. You're typing a prompt. The AI is generating all the code for you. You can click around in the UI. The AI tool inevitably will tell you that there's an error and you have no idea what the error means. So you copy the error, you paste it back into the chat and say, hey, fix this error for me. You're iterating in this manner. You're embracing the vibes, and this is vibe coding. Now, who is vibe coding best for? You might have already guessed it, but it is for people who don't know how to code but want to build software applications. If you're not technical at all, but you've always wanted to build a mobile app, vibe coding is for you. Maybe you're a product owner or a project manager at a company and you want to build a quick prototype without bugging the engineers. You can vibe code a simple prototype and say, hey, this is kind of what I had in mind. Is it feasible? Vibe coding is also for people who know how to code, but maybe want to explore AI coding tools and or LLM capabilities. Maybe you want to build a quick app prototype prototype or feature for this crazy idea that you had, or maybe you're just feeling kind of lazy and don't want to deal with any kind of code and you just want to embrace the vibes. So for example, I know how to code, but sometimes it's just fun to use these AI coding tools to build a prototype of a web application in just a few minutes. Now I do have to say that purely vibe coding is not recommended as a 100% solution for building out applications that will scale to thousands and millions of users maybe, because there are a few risks. So some risks included in vibe coding include security. Basically, if you're not careful with vibe coding, bad people with malicious intent can access things that they are not supposed to access within your vibe coded application and create a lot of problems for your application. You can also run into scalability and maintainability issues. The correct way to build an application is to create a solid foundation of blocks in which you can build upon that. So you can build more and more and more functionality upon that solid core foundation. When you purely vibe code, these vibe coding tools sometimes won't build the best foundation for your application. And when you keep building upon a weak foundation, so to speak, this is not scalable to build more and more and more blocks or more and more functionality for your application. So over time, the foundation becomes weaker and the entire application does not become maintainable either, causing a big mess for you to fix. Lastly, when vibe coding, there is a risk for hidden bugs because the AI is not perfect. So these are some of the vibe coding risks. Make sure to be careful of them when you're vibe coding. All right, now let's get into what AI coding looks like. So in AI coding, you write prompts in AI IDEs to build app features. You use AI IDE tab autocomplete. So this is where developers are manually writing their code, and the AI will basically suggest to autocomplete the rest of their code if you just click on tab on the keyboard. In AI coding, it is also very important and actually essential to set AI coding rules and guidelines for the AI to follow. So this can be its own video itself, but basically this is how we as developers and engineers guide and instruct the AI to generate the best quality code possible for our applications. In AI coding, we're also often reviewing the AI generated code for quality and correctness because again, AI is not perfect. And to fix errors, sometimes us developers know exactly where to fix the bug, but sometimes we do run into pesky errors. So we too copy and paste errors back to the AI to kind of help us debug and find the root cause of really tricky errors. So who is AI coding for? It is for people who know how to code and for people who don't know how to code but are open to learning how to code, learning about software application fundamentals, and making minor code changes themselves. So now that you have a good idea of what vibe coding is and what AI coding is, where do you fall on the spectrum? Some of you may be on this side, purely vibe coding, and some of you may be on this side, purely AI coding. I think the majority of people, including me, are operating somewhere along this area of the spectrum. And let me explain. So let's say you're a non-technical person who is purely vibe coding. I think the more you care about the code, the more you are trying to say, write and implement guidelines for clean code and for the code to write things in a more efficient manner. The more you start caring about the code, basically, the more you start moving into the AI coding direction. So let's take, for example, Riley Brown, who's one of the most influential vibe coders and most popular vibe coders out there today. A big fan of your work, Riley. Shout out to you. Riley considers himself a pure vibe coder. He doesn't have a technical background. He lets AI write all of the code for him. He said in his videos he does not know what any of the code means. So he is on this end of the spectrum. But I will say, just by being in the AI coding space for so long, in the vibe coding space, he kind of gravitates a little bit more to the AI coding realm. Riley uses Cursor, Cloud Code, and Codex to do his vibe coding. So I would say he's not a pure vibe coder. He's a little bit more in this direction. Let's put him like right over here. On the other end of the spectrum, AI assisted coding. So let's take me, for example. My background is in Java development. I know Java like the back of my hand. So it's oftentimes quicker for me to just knock out some Java code by hand and maybe use AI tab autocomplete to autocomplete certain lines. However, I do create apps with Next.js and React, which I don't know as well as Java. So in those cases, I let AI generate all of the code. My AI coding tool PromptPy, which helps you to create and organize your prompts before pasting them into tools like Bolt, Lovable. 100% of PromptPy's code was generated using Cursor and Claude Code. So now that brings me over to the vibe coding side. However, I still review every single line of code that's generated by the AI. So in this case, I would say I am right in the middle. And if I were to take a guess, in the enterprise world, most companies using AI to develop are somewhere somewhere along the AI coding side over here, just because we need that human to make sure that the AI is correctly executing all of the business logic. So again, I think many people start on either side of the spectrum, and the more you use the AI tools, the more you embrace vibe coding, the more you embrace AI coding, you start to gravitate towards the middle of the spectrum. So that's my take on vibe coding versus AI coding. Let me know in the comments your thoughts or where you fall on the spectrum yourself. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.